So let's begin with the first example. And so Marissa and Katie, what they did was they looked at planning using those 5 characteristics, a conceptual play world for the book of Ravi. And, excuse me, I don't know if you know this story, but the first characteristic around selecting the story, so this is kind of your little marker here, of Ravi's story. This particular story is all about Ravi being the smallest and the youngest in his family. And when they go on picnics, everything happens to Ravi. Ravi's always late. Ravi's always, I'm not going to do this justice to it, but, and Ravi, misses out on the ice cream because he doesn't get there early enough, and he gets angry and he turns into a tiger. And so there's a lot of emotions in this story. But, you're thinking, oh, where's the maths? You'll hear the maths soon. So we're going to hear about this in a moment. So let's now listen to Marissa and Katie actually talking about this first characteristic, about what's important for them in choosing the story of Ravi. And I think it'll give you a little bit of a flavour of this.
Ravi's Roar by Tom Percival. Can you see any other emotions on Ravi's face?
Disappointed.
Disappointed's a great emotion, isn't it?
Ravi was a book we chose to read that was actually initially chosen to be linked with our unit of inquiry, which was all about how we express ourselves.
We wanted the kids to understand that we can feel big emotions. Ravi being our angry character that makes us feel angry like a tiger.
Ravi had turned into a tiger! The tiger took a huge deep breath and then...
We found the kids loved Ravi and they loved the dog Biscuits. The PlayWorld allowed them to be Ravi and to feel that emotion.
Why are you so angry, Ravi?
Because there's no ice cream left.
But then we were able to enter the PlayWorld again and be other characters so they could think about his friends and the feelings that they had when he was being angry. We had 3 different maths concepts that we knew we wanted to cover. So we knew that we wanted division in there, location and transformation, and chance. So it made sense to have a party where Ravi had cupcakes, and we knew that we wanted the kids to work out how many cupcakes he needed. When they were in Ravi's world, they were so engaged and they really wanted to solve it. And the amount of excitement in sharing their ideas was amazing.
If I was in imagination world, I was inside it. I couldn't wait until the cupcakes were ready.
I just loved the amount of learning you can get from one book, but being in the PlayWorld meant that we really dived into the meaning of the book, and there was literacy elements we could do.
Why is Ravi sad, disappointed and annoyed?
Because he can't find anybody.
It's amazing to see how excited the kids were to be in the world and how achievable it is.
Experts, and what I want to highlight is that, and this is in this little booklet that we will send out to you, but the drama of the story is really, really important, and the emotional connection. So this is not a book that's just about facts, mathematical facts or STEM facts in any way. It's a beautiful children's book, and it has the drama and the excitement and the emotions. And of course we know that emotions and cognition go together. So when a child, how they feel about their learning, as we know, really matters. And so if they're really engaged in wanting to help the character, they're building this empathy for the character Ravi, and they're wanting to support Ravi, then of course they're going to do anything they can in mathematics to actually help Ravi, so to achieve the problem that's being solved. So the key thing is choosing a book that has lots of drama and can build empathy for the characters. So that's the first really key part of selecting a story. And this is just the overview of the concepts over time. So you can see it went for 3 weeks and it was able to be built over time. So it's not necessarily always a book and a concept. It can actually, but it can be, but it can also be a book that goes on for a week, a term, or even Marissa and I were talking, maybe even a year, where one book might morph into another. So helping Ravi might enter the new children's book so that the learning from one book to the next can follow through to the next PlayWorld that's created with different books. So then the second characteristic of the conceptual play world or real world scenario is actually around jumping into the story, literally through designing a space that children would go to. So they know that this, and you heard one of the children, I hope you could hear it, she said, when we went into the imaginary world, you know, so they knew that this was a special space where they were doing lots of imagining. And so what we have, and you'll see the video in a moment, is that we have one part which of course is, you can see here the ice cream stall, which is part of that story. So you remember Ravi missed out on the ice cream, and there was also and there is also the maths lab. I thought I had another slide there. So what I'll do is just illustrate then the key points here for designing the space. And the key point for designing the space is it doesn't necessarily have to be expensive resources or materials. It's actually about looking at a space, like it says, welcome to grade 2. It could have a little curtain across the top, sorry for the camera, and when they enter, they're in the world and they're imagining Ravi here. So it can be something as simple as that. So it's like nothing changes except what the children are imagining and what happens in that space. So and many of the play worlds that have been done, conceptual play worlds, use all sorts of different things. They use tunnels, they use the story like The Witch in the Wardrobe, and so they have a box and they go through the cupboard and suddenly they're, you know, in the stories of Narnia and so on. And so they're just examples of what can happen. But it's that really important space where there's lots of opportunities for things to happen. So here we have the ice cream van, and here we have the maths lab. So, and now what we're going to do is actually hear how Marissa and Katie talk about the designing of this space.
In the story, it was hide and seek, but we did tag instead.
Who am I? What can my name be? Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy the Lion. We decided that the playground was a good space because it's so open and it meant that kids could use the playground. We went from there. So we found that when we were setting up the ice cream stall, we tried to keep it in the same location.
Strawberry. Thank you. Orange.
We didn't want the play world to be too close to the classroom because we wanted it to feel like it was an additional place that we could go to and visit. And the maths lab we chose because it was in the classroom, but I tried to keep it in a similar space and start it in a similar way. So we knew that this was where the play world and the maths lab was taking place.
Okay, so that gave you just a quick taste. And the next part that I want you is the third characteristic, which is very much about having that routine to enter into that imaginary world and exit that imaginary world. And as I mentioned, with the curtain across that doorway, it can be anything. And in this case, it was fabulous because there were two ways in which it happened. And I'll let you listen to how this was done.
The very first day we entered the world, we read the story and we had an invitation at the back of the book. So as we read it, the invitation fell out and I read it to them. It said invitation to play and it had the date and it said time now. And then I introduced them to the fact that when we hear ice cream music, it means that we can go out into the play world. So we chose the ice cream music, we made sure we listened to it, and then they were allowed to run out, get their shoes and meet in the play space. So we came back to that anytime we were going into the playground, play world area. If it was something that we were working in the maths lab and we weren't necessarily going out into the play world, I tried to have a letter in the classroom. So we'd have something that was still bringing us into that world, but we knew that there was a task that needed to be completed in the maths lab together.
Follow the path.
Let's go! Ravi's too angry, we must go, quick!
So we play the music to exit. If I was doing the letter, we wouldn't necessarily have an exit, but we might come back together and share our findings. Normally I would have them complete work in their own books. We would come back and share it, and we would make a class decision on what we wanted to give to Ravi. So it might be that, we're giving him information on how many cupcakes are going on the tray, and that was sort of our exit, was having that completed work together.
Okay, so what's important about this particular characteristic is that it's all the children and the teachers going into the conceptual play world at the same time, because the jumping into the story, having the common narrative of that story really matters, and we know from our research that it's really important for children who have, say for instance, expression challenges. Going into the play world means that because everybody already knows what the play is about and the mathematics is about, they only have to make sort of gestures like being the tiger, Rawr, and then they go, oh, you're being Ravi. So it is very, very inclusive of children, we've discovered. We've also learned from our research it's so inspiring for the girls, because there are these really fabulous social problems that need to be solved, and it really hooks all the children in, but the girls feel like they're really central. And of course we know from our research that the teachers position, you heard the maths lab, so the girls are can be the chief mathematician, so you can actually position particular children in particular ways to help with their confidence and competence in mathematics by being the expert on that day, because they all take different roles. So and the other thing too, which links into the next, the fifth final characteristic, we're going to go to 4 in a moment, but is also that the teachers as characters in the play actually really drive the play further. It's because they're inside the play, and when the children are inside, when the teachers are inside the play, our research has shown us that they're very in tune with any microaggressions that might be happening between children, and they're dealt with very quickly. So that's not what we experienced at this school, it's just to say this is part of what we've learned from our research. So what's happened there? Okay, good, we're back. So then the fourth characteristic, which is, I think, a very critical one, it's your bread and butter, as I mentioned, and it's our looking at what might be the authentic problem that needs to be solved, that is very meaningful, mathematically meaningful to the children, which we heard Alex talk about at the introduction, that's really important. So let's have a look at the characteristics around this, and it's the authenticity in particular that matters here. So the children really, the play problem that comes up, the children really, really want to solve it. They want to use the concepts to service the play. So they really want to go back to the maths lab and sort out that problem so they can introduce it to Ravi, as we heard Katie actually mentioned in the previous video. And you'll see there are very different ways in which that can happen and be amplified over time. So it's not just one play problem that arises, but the problem can become deeper and more meaningful over time, and particularly as we see how the children are responding and embodying the concepts and working with the concepts, and that different kinds of letters or different kinds of problems can be introduced. But let's listen to how this is done by our superstars.
So the main concept we focused on was mathematics, the end of division that we were sort of trying to tie in, and then we had location and statistics that we were sort of trying to cover over the play world.
We would plan out what maths concept we were working on that day so that we could have our plan set up for Ravi. The biggest problem was Ravi didn't know how to create this party.
He couldn't make because he was just a kid. Yeah, we helped him.
We decided mainly on using letters and voice recordings. We both downloaded an app on our phone which would change our voice.
Hello, friend. That's what he sounds like. Hello, friends.
Hello, friends. Your mission today is to find out how many cupcakes I can cook on each tray.
We found something that was the same size as the cookie. Once we covered the whole page, which was 12 on each page, we traced around it. We cut them out, then we put chocolate chips on them. We had to share them evenly, or then it's just not fair. And then we added this one more, and it equaled 48.
48. Do you remember how many guests we had coming all together then?
44.
44. How many cupcakes did we have left over?
4.
4. Well done. We knew that guests were coming, so the kids had to work together to create a map. And then that's when I came in as Rebecca, the Google Maps expert, and I spoke to them about how we need to use particular language so that guests can actually arrive somewhere.
Turn left.
Well done.
Go down the stairs.
Walk. Well done.
Forward.
So then we looked into the language of least likely, most likely, impossible, and certain. And then the kids had to choose something to draw that might happen, will happen, or won't happen at Ravi's party. So we made a class chance display.
Impossible is no drinks, no donuts, and no cake.
So why did we say it was impossible to get a drink at our cupcake party?
We don't sell them.
It made the maths feel more meaningful to them. I think at every age, kids don't necessarily see why they need to do it. Whereas when they were in the world and they felt like they needed to help a friend, they were really engaged and they wanted to solve it.
And I think that last statement is very powerful. You know, it was meaningful. You could hear that from, and you could see that on the children's faces. So it was very exciting to see this. And the fifth characteristic is actually planning the interactions. And the key point here is that the teacher is no longer the teacher. The teacher becomes a play partner, particularly for the younger children. But that's not the only kind of role, and I'll talk about that after we hear from our superstars.
So there was a moment when I became Ravi, after Ravi had come into the classroom and destroyed all the furniture and pushed everything over. I came in and pretended to be really upset. They got really quite emotional and worried about me, so that was really fun.
I started off as one of the kids on the first day, and then I decided to be the ice cream lady on the second day. What would you like today? Bubblegum ice cream. Well, that is lucky. We have bubblegum ice cream here. Then every time I was a new character, I just explained that this was my new name and I was an expert in this field, and that's all they needed to hear, basically. I've never met any of you before. How did you know my name? Did Ravi tell you I was coming? Yeah. Did he? Yeah. Now, did you know what I wanted help with? Yeah. I really want to have a cookie party. You guys are kind of experts at parties, aren't you?
Yeah. We need to have 4 trays. One that has 6.
Okay.
And then the other 3 that's left have to have 10.
In a lesson, you might lose the kids and you need a brain break. Whereas the moment I was Rebecca, the Google Maps expert, they were so focused, and I even had kids asking Rebecca to go to the toilet. So they kept in character and they asked me how I knew their name. So they were very engaged in the world that I wasn't their teacher anymore.
I'm not Miss Cashmore, I'm Ravi.
I love being a big kid, and when I tell stories all the time, I always love using character. So getting into character and acting out with the students, I think it's a fun way to teach. It's engaging and the kids just love it. So that's probably why I'd continue to do it, and the authenticity of their learning as well.
So you can see it's a heap of fun for teachers as well as the children, and so teachers engaged as much as the children. And of course, we've learned from our research, that's the bit that people think, oh, I don't know if I can, I'll lose control, what will happen? But what we've learned from our research is that there are many different positions, and you actually heard you heard Katie actually show some of that, as well as Marissa, because that you can be the teacher equal. You can by being the play partner, you are equal with the children. So this equal position of solving the problem together because you are a character. So that's one position you can take. But when you want to do some explicit teaching, or you want to sort something out because they're going in a different direction, then you can come in as the Google Maps expert, and as you saw, we actually, what I thought was really beautiful at the end, when you were actually down low, you're actually in the under position as well. So you have the above position where you can actually impart information as an expert, but because you're in character, you're not sort of doing formal teaching, but the children are really absorbing it because you are not the teacher, but you are this character who's come to share something that's important. But also when you're in the under position, where especially you don't have to literally go down, but it was wonderful that you did, where you're kind of coming in and going, what just happened, and I don't understand, how can I, and so the children then tell you the mathematics, and they want to tell you because they're not telling you because you're the teacher, they're telling the character about what they've learned. And so these are kind of sort of in above position, an equal position, below position, but there is also this other position that's called primordial we, which we found really helpful too, because sometimes you have a child or a student who just needs that extra support, and it's literally like cradling the child and together doing something. So it's different to an equal position because the teacher is in their character role, is essentially really doing the work for them, and they're experiencing it on a peripheral basis. And then over time, of course, they own that learning, but in that very first instance, they're feeling supported. So in one of our other research projects, we had children who felt nervous to share what they knew, and so and this was a PlayWorld of Robin Hood, and when they went back in time to the time of Robin Hood, the teacher was the dragon, because this was a character that the children had introduced, and one child who felt very nervous was the baby dragon, and they would always hold hands together, and baby dragon would whisper and mummy dragon would share what baby dragon was saying, and that's a primordial we position. And sometimes it worked really beautifully because this child really felt engaged in this way.